Hey, are you ready to glow like the queen you are? Then it's time to book with Sunshine's Aesthetics by Michaela Graves, where smooth skin, flawless brows, and customized facials are just the beginning. From full body waxing to lash and brow laminations, Michaela's got the magic touch to keep you looking snatched and stress free. Self care isn't selfish, y'all, it's essential. Call her today or even text 336 529 1666. That's 336 529 1666 and let your skin thank you later.
Welcome to Back Porch Confessions, where the sweet tea is strong, the stories are stronger, and no topic is too taboo for the porch. Grab a seat, kick off your shoes, and let's get into the kind of conversations your mama warned you about, but you listen anyway.
Hey, welcome to Back Porch Confessions. Barbara again. I am today going to speak on the subject of generational trauma and how it affects women and our lives and what we do to ourselves when we hold it in. I do have a lot of notes here because it's a lot of information and I'm not sure I can get it all out appropriately, so I want to make sure that you guys are getting the proper information. I have spent the last week in Alabama. I was going to try to do some recordings there, but Lily, my granddaughter, was, she just wanted to have time with Nana, and there was just no time to try and do that and then take away from her, so I opted not to do it. Maybe next time when I go, when the baby's born, we'll worry about it then, but otherwise, I'm happy with what we've got now. So, generational trauma. If you follow my TikTok at all, you would have seen that I did a little post on that for Monday, and I think I'm going to try to do a little hint on Mondays about what's going to come out on Wednesday. So I'm trying to do this Tuesday night before this is coming out Wednesday morning. So this has been a little chaotic for me, but hey, I'm here and I'm doing it and it's going to be fine. But what I will say, and what I've known, and I'm like a walking book of generational traumas and what it does to the body when we don't do anything about it and when we don't try to correct it, and we do, like Angel J has said many times, we just squish it down and we don't address it. We sweep it under the carpet, we ignore it, whatever, however you want to categorize that, I guess. It's like a silent inheritance. Generational trauma lives in our bodies. It has lived in my body for years. And when I got the C word, COVID, I'm guessing it's okay to say it now, it exacerbated those autoimmune disorders that I didn't know that I had. And since the time frame of 2021 to 2025, I've been to tons of doctors. I've had tons of tests ran. I have seen some really great doctors and I have seen some not so great doctors. And I will say that our medical system in America really just kind of stinks. It really could be a whole lot better than it is. In my opinion, the doctors are just puppets for Big Pharma. It's my opinion. Most people, I don't know, I think most people would agree with me, and some people would think that I'm being a brat, but, it's okay. You could have your opinion. If you don't like it, roll on. How does generational trauma live in your body? Sometimes we carry this trauma in our bodies, and it's battles that we've not even fought ourselves, because we're carrying on the trauma that's coming from the generation that raised us. And they carried the trauma from the generation that raised them. And so you have this whole dynamic of the generational trauma being passed down from one to the next. And I think that it's so important that we try and talk about this, and that we put a voice to this kind of thing so that people can see that this is happening. Had I had a notion of any of this, or had the knowledge of most of the things that I have the knowledge of now, I probably would be a lot less sick. I probably wouldn't have all the autoimmunes. I was healthy as a horse, basically, before I got COVID. And it brought me to my knees. When I had it, I thought I was going to die. It was terrible. I did not fare well with it. And yeah, so fighting from that to move forward now to where I am, I'm half the woman I was. I have half the strength I had. I cannot go outside in the heat for too long. I cannot be in the cold for too long. My body temperatures are all over the place, not only from peri or menopause. I am all over the place due to Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune. With that, I have all kinds of other things that go on with the GI issues and swelling, joint pain, not being able to eat certain foods, having a lot of sensitivities to things. I don't know. It's not something I would wish on anybody. But studies do show that according to the American Autoimmune Related Disease Association, it's AARDA, 80% of those diagnosed with autoimmune diseases are women. 80% of us are diagnosed with autoimmunes have generational trauma. And that to me is pretty crazy. And I don't understand why it's not talked about. I don't understand why the doctors just want to give you a pill because you have adult onset ADHD or you have depression or you have depression and anxiety. So let's give this 2 or 3 medications. And, instead of getting to the root of the problem and maybe having the insurance pay for more therapy visits rather than like 6 a year, you're not going to be able to get to the bottom of these things with 6 visits for the year. It blows my mind. But it's because they don't want you to be fixed. They don't want you to be fixed. They want you to stay sick so that they can keep making money. It really aggravates me. People pleasing is one of them. Perfectionism is another of the things that we carry with us when we have trauma-related responses. They're disguised as our personality, but in actuality, it's our trauma response to what life has given us. Especially the Generation X women, before we were conditioned to be nice. We're just to be nice. We're to suppress our emotions and carry our family burdens without speaking on them, without wanting our friends to help us, without having a conversation with anybody. We're supposed to just carry those burdens. And no, we can't just carry those burdens. We need to be able to have a safe place that we can have a conversation with somebody. They may have an idea of what you can do to handle the situation better. They may have gone through it themselves, which is part of why I have my TikTok Back Porch Confessions page, where I'm going to start doing a lot more lives where we can have some mini conversations on these types of subjects. I want the women to come there and have a conversation with other women so that we can all help one another get through these generational traumas that we've carried with us because we were told to be quiet. Shh, we don't talk about these things. No more of that BS. I don't want my daughters doing it. I don't want them to be where I am at 50, almost 53 years old. I do not want them carrying those generational traumas with them and making them sick. I want them to be able to have a fulfilling life without dealing with the crap that I've had to deal with. Chronic suppression of your emotions is linked to increased inflammatory response, which I have. A known trigger for the autoimmune disorders is chronic suppression of a trauma. And it could be somebody that's not Gen X. It could be somebody that's 22 years old that has gone through a traumatic situation, which could be anything. It could be they're being touched by people they weren't supposed to be touched. They had, they were on a date and somebody did something they weren't supposed to on the date. It's, DR are the letters. I can't say it on here, but SA is another situation and that kind of thing where it's, I just can't say it on here, but I'll have it in the little notes. I'm sure you guys can pick up on what I'm saying, but sometimes women have been given something in their drinks and next thing they know, they wake up somewhere they don't know where they've been, who they've been with. They don't have any clothes on. I've been there, done that. It was horrifying. I was with cousins and they let this person take me off. I remember getting up and going to go to the bathroom, and when I just started feeling funny at the bar and I went to the bathroom and I remember sliding down the wall and the world was closing in around me and I'd only had a few drinks. I had no idea what was going on, and the next thing I know I wake up at home in my bed. No clothes on. Nobody there with me. My car's not there. I don't know how I got there. That's traumatic. And you don't know how to respond to that kind of thing. And you can't talk to somebody, at least wise back in that time, you couldn't, the 90s, you don't talk about that kind of thing. You don't bring that out because that person then is going to be in trouble. And, it was a whole thing of be quiet. We don't talk about it. So I just carried that with me, that trauma, to the point that I was very helicopter momish over, the girls, wanting them to be careful, being observant of their surroundings, making sure that they weren't leaving drinks sit around, and constantly in a panic state or a worry as a mom over it. So when you carry that trauma with you and you become a mom of girls, that trauma then carries on to them, both by the way that we react to things and by us becoming then helicopter moms and not wanting anybody to touch them or not wanting anybody to have the ability to drop things in their drinks, and they end up at the situation that you tell them. Okay, this is what's happened to me. You can't do that. Make sure you're careful. All these things. The autoimmune connection, when your body turns on you, which it's done to me after COVID, because you turned on yourself. Let me explain this. So when you go to a deep dive into the science of how trauma dysregulates the immune system, leading to a misfiring that causes your autoimmune conditions. So stress is known as a contributor. I have a lot of stress. I've had a lot of stress most of my entire life. I've carried stress with me in my body for years upon years upon years, staying in a marriage I shouldn't have stayed in, letting a situation in my first marriage make me run for the hills. I'll kind of get into that stuff a little bit later, but I won't go on a deep dive on that. I will on aspects of it, but not a complete aspects of it, just because I respect my first husband, and I don't want to do or say anything that may or may not hurt him. But my reaction to a situation created a whole firestorm of things, to where I was remembering situations when I was touched improperly as a child, very bad situations, to the point that I literally was driving down the road one time and just saw a bunch of trees, and those bunch of trees reminded me of a situation with one of the family members that had taken me out to the woods and tied me up to a tree and did things to me that they weren't supposed to do. They were very, very sick individuals. He particularly was a very sick individual and did things not only to me but other cousins in the family. And most of the family now know, and I don't know exactly where this person is anymore. If he's in jail, not in jail, who knows? Because they, tend to think that those type of people are okay to have in this world. So anyway, off track there, but when you carry those stresses with you, the stresses of not having my dad in my life, the stresses of my mom not really liking me, the stresses of my mom taking me to foster care and dropping me off at 14 and walking away, saying she doesn't want to be a parent anymore, the stresses of being in a foster home that the children of the foster parent didn't like the foster children, was mean. The foster parent was mean. I swear she was feeding me oatmeal in the morning that tasted like it had gasoline in it. I refused to eat it. I wouldn't eat it. I was not going to eat it. Thank God my brother would save me over the weekends, and I would come and spend the weekend with him and his wife and my niece Jessica, because that was just a lifesaver until my aunt and uncle, not my brothers, but my father's youngest brother, come in and saved me and became my foster parents. And I greatly appreciate the fact that they did that, and they made a world of difference in my life. But going back to how it dysregulates the body, and your immune system misfires and attacks you, and the stress that contributes to that, you end up with diseases like lupus, which I said I was tested positive for, then tested negative for, and I don't know. Anyway, rheumatoid arthritis. I have psoriatic arthritis. Hashimoto's. I have Hashimoto's. All of the disproportionately affecting women. Like, all of these things affect women more than they do men. Men just carry stress different than we do. I'm not real sure why it affects the women more so. I don't know if it has something to do also with our hormones being different. Menopause creating some problems there as well. Yeah, I mean, it could be a myriad of reasons. I'd have to study more on that. But it does. Our body just basically attacks itself. And that's kind of how I explain Hashimoto's to people. Yes, it's a thyroid condition, but it's not just that my thyroid is depleted. It's that my thyroid is literally attacking my body. It thinks that there's something wrong, so it attacks the liver, the pancreas, the kidneys. So all of my organs are constantly in a fight and a battle for survival. I've met people with Hashimoto's that don't have near as rough a time as I do, and I'm not really sure what the difference is between them and me. Maybe it's because I've had more trauma, maybe not. Maybe it's because I'm older. Maybe it's because my childhood was worse than their childhood, or just, I really can't explain why there's levels of difference. I just know that my Hashimoto's kicks my tail on a routine basis. So mother's wounds and the cycle of strong women who break instead of bend. I want to say that I'm at a point in my life where I've broke many times, but I've also bent way more than I should have, unfortunately, for my children, which I'm trying to save them now from all the crap. But that being said, I am at a point in my life where I'm no longer going to bend. I want to be able to live my life long term and not short term. And if I keep moving in the pace that I was moving, with the amount of stress that I was moving in, my life would end a lot faster than I want it to. I have grandbabies, I have children, and I want to be able to be a part of their lives. I want to be able to enjoy part of my life and be able to go spend time at a lake or a beach, or go spend time in the mountains. I want to be able to live my life and not consider it to be where I have to work until I die. So let's examine how being raised by an emotionally unavailable or overburdened mother who can shape how a woman's stress response and worthiness is. So I would say in my life, and again, my mom knows that I love her. We are at a place where we understand one another. I have a level of forgiveness. I say these things with the greatest amount of peace in my soul. But my mother was not emotionally available to me. She was very much unavailable. My father, the same. He was not emotionally available to me. He was at times when he took the moment to be in my life. He was present. He was there. He spoke. He taught me things. There's things that I remember. I never really felt that with my mom. Not at any point in time where I can actually remember it anyway. Like I said before, I've blocked out a lot of my life. And so maybe there was a time that my mom was more in tune to me than later. I just reminded her of my father, and my father, physically and emotionally abused her. So, I can imagine that probably was hard, even though I, as a mother, can't see me not liking my child because of that. But I'm not her. She's not me. Women who experience childhood emotional neglect are more likely to develop anxiety. I have depression. I have, and stress-related disorders later in life. So yes, absolutely, I shake constantly. My oldest daughter was hugging me while we were on vacation in Tennessee, and she's like, "Mom, I could just feel you shaking." I do. I constantly shake. My nervous system is like trashed, and I've had a lot of stresses lately that I've been trying to deal with different things in my life and trying to figure out my relationship with my husband, and we're both trying to navigate a different season of our lives. We're getting there. We're communicating, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. As I said before, I really want my marriage to work. I don't want it to go away. But when these things come at a later point in your life, and you've got this anxiety and depression, and you don't know what to do with it. You don't know who you can talk to. You feel like you've absolutely lost your mind. You feel like there's something wrong with you. You feel like you're not good enough for the world, and you're not worthy of being here because you don't have that emotional connection that you should have had. So you don't feel a sense of self-worth. You feel like you need to people please and try to pretend to be somebody that you're not. I don't necessarily do that, but I see a lot of people who do, and it's really because they don't know where they belong. They don't know how they fit into anything, and they're trying so hard to do so that they lose their own identity in the process. We do it as moms. We lose our identity to our children, especially those who are like us that are in generational trauma. We'll lose ourselves to being a mom, and when that goes away, gosh, what do we do with ourselves? I know that's something I'm going to talk about probably next week, but I was lost. I didn't expect to be lost, but I was certainly lost. That's for sure. Not being a mom I didn't know how to navigate life, I guess is what I should say. I didn't know how to navigate life and not being a mom. I'm still a mom, but I don't have that immediate nurturing that I need to do with my children all the time. And my husband is very independent and doesn't want me to nurture him much, except for in the ways that he wants as a man. So making his plate and cooking for him and things that I would typically do for my children was not something that he needed nor appreciated. So it's been kind of a portion of me was taken away in not being able to do that in my relationship with him. But that's something we're learning to navigate now as well. Unlearning the role of the family fixer, choosing healing over the hustle of it. That is something that I've had to navigate in learning, and that all goes in how to figure out how to not be mom all the time and how to be me. Who am I? What am I supposed to do with myself? Where do I belong in this world now? If not a mom, what do I do? I'm getting there. I'm doing this podcast, and that's all part of it, but the toll of it as always being the strong one, always being the one that's the caregiver, or being the peacemaker. My oldest daughter is such a peacemaker, and there's things that she should probably say to a lot of people that she doesn't. And I know that she does feel comfortable enough, I think anyway, to be able to say those things to me. Like if she doesn't like something or she's uncomfortable or she thinks that I'm being too hard on Lily, she'll tell me. And I respect her on that. And I want her to tell me, because I don't know I'm doing something she doesn't like if she doesn't tell me. And then she gets disgruntled and doesn't want me around. I don't want that. So I'd rather her just tell me and we discuss it and get it out there than to walk around with that feeling. I don't want her to feel like she has to appease me, and I don't want her to feel like she can't come to me and I'm going to be receptive to her opinion on a subject. So I hope one day she becomes less of a peacemaker than she is now. And I think it just comes from the fact that as a young child, because of what happened and what it did to me in my first marriage, I lost touch with my children for a little while. Various reasons in there. Not going to go into all of those right now, but it didn't mean that I didn't love them. I was just in a position where I couldn't be with them. I wasn't good for them at the moment, and I knew that, and I went to their dad and I let him know that I'm not okay. I'm thinking stupid thoughts. I was in such a spiral at that point because it was triggering all these things from my childhood that I had blocked out, that I was thinking stupid stuff and didn't, I guess I could just say it, but, I was thinking of things that some women have actually done, and I get, when I hear these things happen, I hate it and it hurts my heart, but I get how somebody can get there because I've been there. I was in touch with myself enough, though, to be able to know that, okay, I'm not okay. The situation's not okay, and my children are in danger in my care because I am currently not okay. And so I let him know that. And, he said, go take care of you, and when you get yourself fixed, come back. It didn't quite work out that way, but all of that has been over and fixed, and we've moved on from that. So I'm not going to go into that. I may in my book at one point, but I'm not going to talk about it now. But there's a lot of stress in it. There is a lot of stress in that, and that's a thing that I've had to learn to forgive myself for, and not live in that regret of the decision I made at the time, but knowing that I did it for the health of my children, even though it still ended up hurting them. There was just no win on that one. There just wasn't. Women do report higher levels of caregiver stress, which is linked to increased cortisol. My cortisol levels are through the roof, have been for years. Higher rates of autoimmune conditions like fibromyalgia, which I have, and psoriasis, which I have. So it's funny how I do this research and I see all these things that I have, and I know it's directly related to the crap in my life and the things that I've been through and the things that I've carried that I haven't allowed people to help me. And I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to trust or if I should even trust somebody with the information, because I was shown too many times in my life that I couldn't trust people. And I was also, made to feel like, because I made the decision to not continue on with relationships, to feel like I was a terrible person when those relationships were directly affecting me and how I was able to live my life, and they weren't necessarily good or healthy for me. We all make our decisions for whatever reasons we make them. Do I think that I could have done things a different way? Absolutely. I mean, we all could do things a different way, and we could handle things in a different manner, but I made the decisions I made with the information I had. What I'm trying to do here is help people, especially younger ones, to make a different decision than I made. And know that you can have a conversation with somebody and it's okay and it's safe, and you do have safe spaces to be able to go and have those conversations. I'm not saying that we should have safe spaces at college because somebody's been traumatized by somebody didn't like their purple hair or something. That's over the top for me, but do I think that there should be safe spaces that people can have conversations to say, hey, I was at a party and this happened. And I need somebody to know, and I don't need to be body shamed. I don't need to be shamed that I'm a woman and I shouldn't have maybe wore this skirt, or I shouldn't have been at that party. I shouldn't have put myself in that position, blah, 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 blah. All the things that I shouldn't have done when that person is the one who hurt me. There needs to be a safe place to be able to have those conversations and know that you can, and not be told that you're a bad person. I just can't speak enough on how important to me that is, for the world to know that there is a safe place, and I am here if somebody needs it. I mean, I just, to know that there are people who are out there that literally are hurting and they don't know who to turn to or where to turn to. I know there was a young lady that's talked to me a few times that's watched this. I seen her this past week. I didn't really get much time to speak with her, but I do know that I feel she needs to talk. Like, I feel she's got a weight on her shoulders, and I feel that she doesn't feel like she's got a safe place to fall. And if she watches this, I want her to know to please reach out to me, because I am here for you and I'm happy to listen. We can schedule once or twice a week if you want to talk. I can get on the phone with you and have conversations. I can try to help you work through some of your whatever is going on. She's reached out to me a few times beyond listening to this, and I've appreciated that she has taken the stance to be able to do that and reach out and convey that she has things that she's dealing with and feelings that she's dealing with, and she doesn't really know where to turn. I've been there. I have been there a few times. I made the choice to follow a man to Texas and end up in a relationship that necessarily wasn't the best for me. I have 2 amazingly beautiful children out of it. We have an amicable relationship at this point. He and I do. I absolutely adore his wife. She's an excellent bonus mom. Both of my exes have great women that I adore, and I am ultimately blessed to have them as bonus moms for my children. I couldn't ask for anything better out of either one of them. They're amazing people. Do we necessarily agree on everything? No. But I think they're amazing. And we need to build a compound. Just us. So how do we go about breaking the curse? I think that's going to be different for everybody. It's not going to be the same. How I handled it may not work for you, and how I move through my life and through figuring out my stresses and my traumas, and how and where to place them, and how to not let them control my well-being is ultimately very important. Having empowerment and being able to say, I need help. I need to go through therapy. And I need some rest. I need some time as a mom. I need to make sure that I am taking care of my family and my children, and once they've all gone to bed or off to school or wherever, I'm doing the things that I need to do for me to keep my stress down, to keep my cortisol levels down, to help my adrenal glands be in good health. I need to find a way to have empowerment therapy and rest. Whether your therapy is sitting and listening to a podcast, whether your therapy is going to an actual therapist, whether it's on telehealth or in person, whether your rest is just to take a nap, or it's just sitting and reading a book or doing a devotional, whatever that looks like for you, make sure that you make the time to do it. Journaling is very, very, very important, and writing these things out, writing out your traumas, and being able to sit down and look at them as you write them, and go back and look at them again when you are in situations that are making you feel like that particular thing made you feel. Go back and read it. What did you do in that time? Write that down in the journal when you're writing everything down. Write down what it is that you did to handle that situation. And you will know, okay, yes, check mark, do that same thing again, or no, don't go that route. Let's find another way to handle this. Am I going to say that it's going to be easy? No. Journaling your feelings is never easy. A lot of times it's a very emotional process. Knowing that you have to write these things out. Well, I can't say that you have to, but you should. You really should write them out, I feel. Anyway, that you should write them out. And write out how you handled it and what the end results were in your journal. And when it happened, make sure that there's a date so that you can kind of generalize what was going on in your world at that time. You can do it on a piece of paper. You can get a whole book. You can put it in your notes in your phone. You can type it out in Word. Like, there's a ton of places that you can do this type of journaling. They have online ones that people on Instagram or TikTok will sell you. There's a couple different journals that I've had from TikTok that I've thought were pretty amazing. Make sure that you're writing these things out. Journaling is very important. It may seem crazy. You hate to write. Well, then do a voice thing. There's a voice recorder on here. Voice record it. Keep the recording in your phone. Record, okay, this is what's happened. This is what I'm doing. And this is the end result with it all. And just have it recorded if that's what you need to do, if you don't feel like writing anything out. We really need to, as we're focusing on the tools and the practices to help us with the trauma, to regulate our nervous systems, because if we don't, you're going to continue to have flares. So when you feel a potential flare coming from a stress that you're going through, like I'm going through one with a closing, that the house has a certain type of well, and there's certain type of things in the well, and it's an estate situation, and the family's upset, and it's a whole thing. So stress. I'm like, okay, is this not going to close now? Is this what's going to happen? I was supposed to have a closing at the end of June, I think it was, and it didn't close like the day before. It decided to go away, and that was money I needed. So that's stress. It's always a constant stress. What do I do to counteract that stress that I know I'm getting ready to go through? So that's why journaling is important. If you are able to write that down or record it, and okay, this is happening again. This is what I did before, and it worked or it didn't work, and until you can get it journaled out and you actually have something that works for you. When you get to the point where you have something that works for you, you're going to be able to control the stress in your life a whole lot more than just living in chaos. I know, don't say it. Women love chaos. We do. We live in chaos. Our lives are normally chaos. Most women, not all women, but most women we're pretty chaotic. Studies show that somatic therapy, EMDR, and mindfulness practices can reduce inflammation markers and improve immune function. I think that going into more of what are those things? Mindful practice. We know that. I've just talked about it for probably 15-20 minutes. Journaling, mindful practice. Being mindful of how you react to situations and what to do in that situation is going to be able to help you greater than not being mindful. Being in tune with yourself and knowing what you can handle and what you can't handle, and on what levels that you can and can't handle them, is going to be such a stride in your life. Like, you're going to live in a whole new season of your life when you're able to feel that change and that shift in you to where you're empowered enough within yourself to know, okay, Barbara, this is what we got to do now. This is what's happening at the moment, and this is what we do to counteract that so we don't deplete ourselves and cause ourselves to have a nervous system like I have at this point, because I didn't know how to not deplete myself. I didn't have the tools to do so. I didn't have somebody on a podcast or a TikTok live that's talking to me, telling me how I can get through these moments of my life. I didn't have a mom I could call and talk to for an hour or two about how a situation is making me feel and have her help me to feel better about my life. Could I call my mom now? Probably. And we've had phone conversations periodically throughout the years, but she's just not my first person that I think about to call when I'm in a situation. Actually, I would be quite truthful. My brother, Terry, is the one I would call. I would call him, or my cousin Susie. We don't talk a whole lot, but I know that she understands my trauma because she's been there. And I know Terry understands because he grew up with me, so he understands, and he knows me probably better than I know myself. What is somatic therapy? Let me ask. I'm curious. I'm sure you probably are. No. I hate it when it decides to change a word for me. That's not what I typed. Leave it what it was. Thank you. Somatic therapy and EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, are both trauma-focused therapies, but they work in very different ways. Here's a breakdown. So the somatic therapy, what is it? A body-centered therapy that focuses on how trauma is stored in the body, not just the mind. It recognizes that trauma isn't just a memory. It often lives in the nervous system, creating tension, chronic pain, or fight or flight freeze responses. Oh, red flags for me all the way right there. Yes, that is me without a doubt. How it works. Instead of just talking about trauma, a therapist helps you notice physical sensations. Tightness, I get that. I sometimes can't even sit in my chair in my living room with my husband where I'm completely safe without holding my breath or sitting in a very tense manner. I have to tell myself to just relax. I'll catch myself just doing that. It's exhausting. I do know why I do it, but it irritates the living dickens out of me. Shaking. I have it. Shaking. I constantly shake. Pain. Yep. I have pain every day, all the time. Some worse than others. It's so, I guess when you're feeling those physical sensations, it teaches techniques like breath work. I've had some people ask me about that with the breath work. I haven't done it yet. Grounding. I do that. I will go outside when I'm having a moment, and I'll stand in the grass. And sometimes I do it at night before I go to bed. I'll just stand in the grass. I haven't done that in a little while. That's interesting. I haven't done that in a little while, but I would go outside with the dogs and I'd just stand in the grass while they're doing their thing at night. They say it's really great to do that before you go to bed. So also it says gentle movement to release stored trauma from the body. So I've also seen some, I guess I don't know if they're reels or TikToks, where I've been seeing some type of facial massage or some type of facial, they're doing something to the face of people, and these people are literally crying out. I'm thinking initially, I don't want that done if it's going to cause me that much pain. But what it is actually, when I'm reading what's going on, is actually an emotional release that they're doing with these techniques. It's mind-blowing. So that's what the somatic thing is. That must be what I'm seeing on those videos. So why is it effective? Trauma often bypasses logic. Absolutely. Without a doubt. And lives in the body's memory. Yes, that's why we end up at 52, 53 and have 6 different autoimmune diseases. When you're feeling anxious, but you don't know why. I have that often. Oh, so often.
Somatic therapy helps regulate the nervous system and create a sense of safety. Okay, so I guess I spend a lot of time where I don't feel like I'm safe. Even though I know I'm safe with my husband, I think maybe because we've had some rocky moments, I haven't necessarily felt safe all the time. Not that he would hurt me, nothing like that. Just the relationship not safe. So maybe that's why I do that. I don't know. You guys are seeing me heal in the moment. But so people who feel stuck, even after traditional talk therapy, those with like PTSD, my oldest son has that. I would say my oldest daughter probably has moments of that, of things that have happened with her current relationship. I would say my youngest daughter has that due to things that happened between her and her father growing up, and a relationship that she had with a young man that was terrible, and it affected her, really affected her terribly. My youngest son, I would say he probably has it, at least in some senses, because of things that have happened to him and how his father has spoke to him in the things that he does, in the way he speaks to him without saying too much. It affects them. So he doesn't respond to people yelling at him or getting in his face or treating him like he's a soldier or anything like that. He's very non-responsive to that type of conversation. So you have to have an adult conversation with him and be calm, or he's not going to respond to you in any way, shape, or form, and he's going to buck up and have it. So that would be his response. So so people feel stuck even after those with PTSD or chronic health conditions like stress and trauma. Right. We all have that. So we're moving on to the EMDR. So that's eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This is interesting. A structured therapy designed to help people process and heal from traumatic or distressing memories by stimulating both sides of the brain. How it works. The therapist will guide you to recall a traumatic memory while following bilateral stimulation, usually through side-to-side eye movements, tapping, or sound. This helps the brain reprocess the memory so it no longer triggers intense emotional or physical response. Okay, so I've seen that happen a lot with people where they'll do tapping like on their face or on their chest, or I'll see them do it on their arms. Maybe that's what they're doing. I do know that people do that to calm themselves down, but I just didn't realize that that's what this was. Why is it effective? So EMDR helps break the brain's stuck loop with trauma, allowing you to think of the memory without reliving it emotionally. Okay. So I guess it's kind of like a distraction. Like it lets you know that you're okay. It's good for PTSD, childhood trauma, phobias. I can see that. I can see that. Like if you're on an elevator and it scares you, you can, just kind of tap yourself however you need to do it. Do the taps. Okay. Anxiety, to move past the anxiety. I would say that I probably, and even chronic pain or grief, with the anxiety aspect of that. I would say that I probably would, when I get highly anxious, I'm trying to find the right words. When I get highly anxious, I will like tap my foot on the floor, or I'll shake my foot, my leg. Sometimes I will chronically scratch my head when I'm trying to relax myself. So yeah, I think I have like what I would consider tics, but I guess it's me finding the ways to relax my anxiety. I will do this if I can't get relaxed at night when I'm laying in the bed, and I'll just run my fingers lightly over my skin. I used to do that to my 2 older children.
and they still love it. And now my granddaughter Lily loves it. She says, "Nana, tickle me." But it's calming. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it really is calming. I'll do it on my face. It just depends on what I'm anxious about and what I'm needing to relax. But yeah, it works. Just give it a try. You might like it. So I don't know. I think that there are so many things out there now that we can do to help ourselves through the things that we've gone through in our life. But one of them is knowing that we have a safe place, because a lot of us don't feel safe. We don't feel like someone's not going to try to hurt us. I have been wounded most of my life by the people in my life, other than my children. You know, they do the wounding all. That's a whole separate subject. You know, they break mama's hearts all the time. But the people that are supposed to be there for you and love you 100% without any kind of reward, or they're just unconditionally supposed to be there to protect you, and they're not. So when you grow up in a situation like that, you don't know who you can trust. You don't know where to turn. You don't know why you feel fight or flight all the time. You know, I had a high school sweetheart, and when he decided to have an affair, because he was my mother, my father, my best friend, my everything, because he came in my life at a point when I didn't have any of those, and I didn't want them at that point. I was done with people who were supposed to love me and be my protector. My poor uncle, I've said it before, he was heartbroken when I told him no. I did not want him to be my dad. I did not need parents. Thank you for the roof over my head, but I don't need parents. So when he did that, he broke that trust. And I would have to say, from that point on, every single person, a male gender, that came into my life, and even some women, not as partners but just as friends, have come into my life and gone out of my life. They weren't safe places. They weren't protectors. They did turn on me. They did do things that were hurtful and mean and on purpose. You know, I carried the weight of the high school sweetheart's mother telling me that I would never be happy. I will never be good enough for anybody. And I didn't realize I was carrying that with me. I didn't realize that I felt like I wasn't good enough. I felt like there was something wrong with me, or all these people wouldn't be turning their back on me. All these people wouldn't be half loving me, or they wouldn't be leaving. They wouldn't just leave me. They would want to be with me. Because they don't, there must be something wrong with me. And she, I guess, validated that for me when I was, I don't know, 19, something like that. And got in my face and told me, you know, this. And I carried that with me for years, until therapy over a couple years ago. She was like, you've been carrying that with you. Other than your mom and dad who didn't step up to actually be your parent, you've been carrying that weight with you of feeling like there's something wrong with you, because none of them wanted to be there for you. None of them wanted to actually show up for you like they should, and instead did things to hurt you. So that was an eye-opener for me. I used to not be able to talk about when my dad tried to kill my mom, but my therapist did kind of some of I guess it would be maybe similar to the EMDR thing, where she had me, I had to go in the bathroom away from everybody. She had me go back to that moment. And what did I see? I literally felt the grass and the gravel under my feet. I literally saw the glassy look in my dad's eyes. I saw the blood all over my mom's face. I remember my brother coming over. I remember my mom, I think, was saying something about get help. I just remember running over to our neighbor's house, whose name was Ralph, and we let him know what was going on and asked for help. And they gave help. But I was able to go through that with her and feel all those emotions in every minute of that terror and the pain that I had in that moment. We didn't go any further on trying to open up my mind as far as from 5 on to 9, where I've kind of blocked it out. I'm not sure I want to. I think if there's a memory there, I want to leave it there, because when I remember the things that happened from 9 to 13 that I blocked out, I spiraled and I lost a lot, to include almost losing my mind. But I don't want to go down that path again. I don't need to know. I'm fine not knowing. I think I'll just leave it right there. I'd rather not, unless the good Lord thinks I need to. I'm going to leave it right there. So I don't know that I'll ever go through that portion with her. She's made that option there. If I want it, she'll do it. I don't think that I do. I think I'll leave it where it's at. But know that I know that she's there if I need to ever go through that, or if I feel like I'm needing to go through that, if things start to come back that I didn't remember or don't remember. I know that she'll be there to help me through that if need be. She's amazing. If anybody wants her information, I'm happy to disclose that to you. Again, email is backporchconfessions@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you guys. Please send me an email. Just even letting me know what you thought about the episode, or if you needed more help, or if you would like me to talk further on a subject of any of these things or anything I've talked about in these last 10 episodes. I can't believe I'm on my 10th one. I'm hoping that this all works out and I can continue to do things and have conversations. I would like to get some more interviews together with people. I love doing those. They're fun. But I also don't mind sitting here and having a conversation with you alone when it's just me going over things. Because I have a lot of story that has a lot of trauma and experience, and I've done a lot of research and soul searching to get through all of this. To be able to share that with you is monumental for me, and to know that my testimony can help someone else means the world to me, which is why I do this like I do. So thank you again for coming and participating and listening to Back Porch Confessions. I will be back on again next week. Monday I will drop a hint about what the next subject is. If you want to come to TikTok to Back Porch Confessions, you can look it up. You'll find me. Join the group of women and men. We have both in there, mostly women though. All ages are in there. A lot of Gen Xers, because they relate with me. They know. Most of them have gone through similar or same types of trauma as I have. So I'm not special. I'm just willing to talk about it. And I'm not willing to stay quiet anymore. So thank you, and I hope you all have a great day. I can't believe it's August. But anyway, thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of Back Porch Confessions, where the tea is hot, the stories are real, and we never apologize for keeping it honest. Produced and edited by the magic makers over at Zay Media. Until next time, keep your porch talk spicy and your secrets safe. Mostly.